How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you?
I am great, thanks. Who am I talking to in particular from the band?
I'm Joe. I am the singer and rhythm guitarist.
Oh, brilliant, fantastic. Would you be able to give us a bit of background about Never Again and how you got started? What's your background or anyone else in the band's background?
Yeah, so the band started I guess we started during COVID. Me and a couple friends, just like, hey, let's write some music together. We wrote a couple songs during COVID, just kind of like, hey, we need to do something, like we're stuck inside all day. Let's write songs.
Yeah,
Um, And after a couple, we were like, these songs are good. We really enjoyed everything we did. Let's make an album and see where that takes us.
nice. It seems so many people started during the pandemic. I think like so many artists came out of that because, well, having nothing else to do, started making music. So what were you guys doing before then? Like what was your background growing up, your influences?
Um, for me, I started playing guitar around like
Right.
12 years old. I got my first ever guitar for Christmas, just like a little like shitty acoustic guitar. Like I feel most kids who start off playing guitar get.
Yeah.
And I was super into bands like 3 Days Grace at the time, and also like 80s like hair metal, like a
Nice.
big thing for me
Well,
growing up.
gateway
Um,
bands.
yeah, yeah, until I just started to discover more of like the niche genre at the time with bands like Silverstein
Yeah.
and From First to Last, and that kind of snowballed into like, oh no, I really like bands like All Time Low and Mayday Parade, and it's such a weird genre jump
Yeah.
that kind of um I think in our writing now you can kind of see that they're kind of all blended
Yeah.
together.
I can definitely hear the sort of 2000s up to 2010 kind of influences, the whole screamo,
Yeah.
emo, punk kind of genres all merged together. Because I mean, that was my world in England growing up. Gateway bands, like gateway music, like Let's Start a Riot, for example, and stuff like that.
Oh,
Those kinds of songs just, and then eventually led me to so many different bands. Um, was that the same for the rest of the people in the band then? Or did they have different paths?
it more or less. I know a lot of the rest sorry
All right.
the rest of the guys um kind of same thing, started with those influences of
Yeah.
maybe like radio rock at the time of like the early 2000s, which was really a marvelous time for music, I believe. I think like 2006 to 2008 is like my favorite era of music besides the 80s. um and like, yeah, like radio rock, uh like again, like 3 Days Grace and Evanescence at the time, um, and things that you turn on the radio and you hear these songs like Panic at the Disco was on the radio
Mm,
at the time, like radio. So those things definitely helped start and then segue into more bands within that sort of niche genre at the time.
yeah. And is this your first band then, or have you had other kind of experiences?
I had two bands before this, nothing as like major as this one.
Mm,
So I had a high school band. Uh, we wrote like one song, did like a mini tour the summer I graduated high school, and that was like the extent of that.
yeah.
After that, I had another band that I tried to make more of like a serious thing,
Yeah.
but again, just like one song we recorded an EP. We traveled, and then the computer that had the EP on it got like robbed and stolen in
No.
yeah, we were in it was Texas, and the
Yeah.
whole thing got robbed,
Oh,
and the computer with the only like copy of the EP got snagged, and that definitely put like a huge damper on everything.
yeah.
Uh, and me personally during that time, I think I was kind of going through like trying to find where I actually want to be musically.
Mm,
Um, and because that band was just very like neon pop rock, like like Forever the Sickest Kids,
right.
type of energy. And it wasn't I wasn't super happy about it. Like I was really trying to force myself into that um mold that I wasn't comfortable with.
Yeah.
Whole thing like was very like mentally confusing for me. So after that band inevitably fell apart, I decided to like step away from music completely and
Right.
took a 10-year hiatus of myself, just not work, like taking music seriously. Like I would, still like I would write here and there just for the sake of doing it, but
Yeah.
it wasn't until we started working on this band that everything felt correct again. So
Right.
it
It's
was easy.
sometimes it's the people, isn't it? Sometimes it's just the genre you're working on. If you're not interested, your head's not there, then
Yeah.
it doesn't work, does it?
Yeah.
Um, Also, I mean, since the pandemic and how the music industry's changed, you can write so much more easily from the comfort of your own home than ever
Oh yeah.
that you can create great songs without spending hours going to a room together to practice it. And, you can make it first and then practice it. Um,
Hmm.
I remember having a band, I must have been about 16, and we'd have to go somewhere together to practice all our songs, and it would take a lot more time, I think. Um, did you find the making of the songs easy? Like, did you already have song ideas, or were they generated during that time?
That that's like a very back and forth answer. Some of
Mm.
the songs came together a lot easier. Um, but the main reason that this album took from like starting to write the songs in 2020 to like let us releasing them this month, 2024, is
Yeah,
because I personally was so back and forth with the songs. And not in a way like how I previously expressed with like the old band, but more so in I kept trying to capture things that I was personally trying to, I guess I was trying to outlet through the music,
yeah,
and I couldn't. It took a while to properly channel all of those things into the different songs. So we would have a song, we would write it. I would try and again channel these things through it, and then that whole thing would go right back to the like bones of the song to be rewritten and fit. So yeah, some songs very naturally came together and it was like this is the song, it's going to work, and then others was this might be the song until it wasn't and became a new version of the song.
right. So some went back to the drawing board a few times
Yeah.
then. I mean,
Yeah.
that ultimately can be a good thing. So let's dive into talking about the album. So it's called Despite Everything. So what's
Yes.
the meaning behind that song, that album title?
It kind of it came from the idea of the song that's called Despite Everything It's Still You,
Yeah,
which
track
I
7.
think yeah, which I
Yeah,
think is a while it's kind of like a short like interlude of a song, I think
mm,
it's a very um it's a very like this is what the album's about song. This is the umbrella for the entire album. So each song kind of connecting with that song through
Yeah.
different mediums made sense to call the whole album despite everything.
Yeah. And if we talk about the overall kind of themes of the album lyrically, I mean, musically, it's technically like very proficient. It's very good. Um, but we talk lyrically first of all. You mentioned that it's kind of to do with your own play, like the places you were mentally at different times. Would you care to elaborate? You know, don't feel like you don't have to in certain places if you don't want to, but elaborate on kind of what was going on there.
Yeah, so a, the like whole album is written around my experiences with mental illness, and partially about like how it's affecting me, but also a big part of how it affects the people around me.
Yeah,
So there's songs like Catching Fire where it's mainly directed at how this has affected the people around me and the people I care about. But then you have more songs like you have like Painted Wings, which is more so like this is how it affects me.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Um, so I was kind of getting that through listening to it. There is this kind of like you, like a you kind of person, whoever that might be, who's spoken to. It might be different people within each kind of song or the songs that it's involved in. But you can hear that kind of the self-destructive nature of actions and the consequences within the songs. Um, at the same time, and I said this in my reaction, is that these lyrics, although you wouldn't, urge someone to maybe be in these mental states because they cannot be a nice place to be in at times. Um, they are quite fitting of the genre and style. If you think back to the more emo type songs of the 2000s, this is very in keeping with that. So do you feel like the music's in some way shaped the lyrics, or the lyrics shape the music?
Oh man,
Good question.
good question. Uh, some some of the songs I think, yeah, but then we have a couple songs that I'm gonna go back to like Painted Wings, where the entire song was written around one moment that I came up with before I wrote the song,
Yeah,
and I wrote this moment where the after the second chorus with the "I need help," uh, that was the first thing written about the song. I wrote the rest of the song around that.
right.
Um, but I think I think it's a blend of both, and I feel like that's such a cop out answer, but
That is a hard one, isn't it? But obviously, you've got your influences from, what you've played on the guitar, what you've listened to growing up, and you couple that with your experiences, and this is what we come out with. But what's interesting is the album to me started quite screamo, emo, and then goes into kind of a punk kind of phase. I think with Dead and Gone, Interstates. And then kind of closes off with like, we've got a breakdown at the end. I was like, hey, there's a breakdown. So
yeah.
in terms of how it was put together, when you were putting the songs in place, did they happen one after the other, or did you decide to group things together based on how they sounded?
So the songs are in order of a way that I wanted it to fluctuate.
Right,
This way that my mental would. So it starts off with like the song like Catching Fire, where it's very fast and chaotic and coming at you, and that vibe represents the theme of that song very well.
Yeah.
And it's a perfect opener because, in my opinion, for the album, because it's the chaos and the self-destructive uh, theme and of lyrically and musically
Yeah.
that triggers the ebb and flow of the rest of the songs
Right.
into the album.
Right. Yeah, because it definitely has its ups and downs. It's a roller coaster, um, but still around the same kind of topics and themes. But
Yeah,
I think I think the way the instrumentation works changes how maybe some you might feel about some of the lyrical topics, which was quite nice
yeah.
to listen to. Let's move on to talking about the production side of things. Um, how was it recorded? How did you kind of create this album?
We recorded it all in house. I've been working uh, with production for many years, so we kind of luck out in that sense of we can, like you were saying before, like we can write and record everything so accessibly easy
Hmm.
that we would write the songs in a recorded fashion, um, as like a demo, and then come back to it with a lot more of a finalized idea. Like this is gonna be the takes that we use,
Yeah.
and yeah, we record everything ourselves. But we had the album mixed with an old friend of mine, Greg Greenberg in Florida, mixed and mastered the album for us. Because I've tried like mixing like my own stuff, and it is just like I'm too like super nitpicky
Yeah.
about so many that it would just simply, I know myself, it would never get done.
You could spend hours doing it, listening to it, going back to it, and you can drive yourself mad doing it, can't you? Yeah. It was interesting to hear how you did it because it was something that I picked up on my reaction, um, was the production side of things because I could tell it was kind of like homegrown, homemade. Would you ever consider like choosing like one or two of these songs to do a full on like super production with a proper like recording studio to get like an incredibly good, well polished kind of take, like a perfect take kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I would maybe not right away,
Yeah.
but I would definitely revisit some of these songs for something like that.
Mm.
Uh, just to hear it, just to like, because I'm not trying to say like I don't think the vision got properly executed, which I because I do think it did.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that would be really cool to just kind of hear like, hey, our first songs revamped in a more like
Full
polished and
1080p songs or something, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah,
That's what you want. I mean, you are so right. The vision was executed perfectly. Like I was blown away by the vision, the drive of it, how dramatic it sounded. These songs have been worked on, and they sound a, like the most incredible versions of those songs to me. Like I was blown away by them. Um, I did feel that the songs could do with being like that perfect version, perfect shine to them, 1080p. Um, so like it's nice to hear that in the future that could be possible. Like if you were to choose one that you would take to like some professional studio, um, which one would you go for? I've heard Painted Wings a lot. Would it be that?
Painted Wings is my favorite song on the album.
Yeah.
So I'm I would probably either do that or Catching Fire. I know the other guys would have different opinions.
Yeah.
Like a big like internal favorite is No Sleep for the Dead.
I was going to
Um,
say that.
they would probably go that way.
Yeah.
But for
I'm a
me, I'll
sucker
go
for a breakdown, so that's where I would be. Yeah.
Breakdown
Um,
and Abyssal for both.
Yeah. It would have to come down to a vote then, probably, wouldn't it, between you guys?
Yeah,
So,
and I would probably get.
sorry, go on.
I was just saying I would probably get outvoted.
Um, have you ever performed then? And how often?
Oh yeah, we have performed a good number of times. We started performing with these songs last November, and we had a pretty steady flow of once a month into twice a month up until like July when we decided to kind of take a break for a month or two before we like start playing out again.
Amazing. How important do you feel doing shows is like these days compared to in the past?
Oh man, compared to the past, it's definitely different.
Yeah.
Um, Back then, it was a lot easier to play fewer shows and connect with significantly more people
Mm,
in terms of people going to go see live music. I feel like, and I could be wrong, but my personal feel on this is back then people would go to see live music just for the sake of going to see live music. They'd be like, hey, there's bands in a genre that I like playing at this place near my house. I'm gonna go.
yeah.
But now I feel like it's a lot of like, hey, my friend's band is playing, and maybe I'll discover a new band that they're playing with, which would be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. The scene
But
definitely has changed, hasn't it? It used to be, I remember going to like hardcore metal shows and just because they were there, I didn't really care who they were, just so I could like punch the air and two step and stuff. Um, but these days it has moved on. It's different, isn't it? And I think it's become a lot more internet based. Do you find yourself doing more maybe internet based stuff to promote your band than you might have done previously?
absolutely, it's like promoting wise, unless it's our own show, um, is like 99% online.
Mm,
You know, like I feel like I can't like I used to with like my old bands go to like a big headlining like tour and just kind of walk the waiting line and be like, hey, I'm in this band. You want to check it out? Hey, I'm in this band. You want to check it out? I feel
yeah.
like that's just not a thing anymore.
No, I mean that kind of promotion used to be good, but it used to be tiring as well, didn't it? Like now it's kind of a lot easier, but it's also more difficult because there are so many artists. It's such a saturated market these days, isn't it? To be heard and seen can be such a challenge. So what are you guys kind of doing to try and be like seen?
We do a lot of like our marketing game plan is pretty much the same for every song that we put out,
Yeah,
where we just kind of go for the ads, go for the promote social media promotions, um, go down the line of people who have high number playlists in within the genre or close enough to the genre,
yeah,
talk to them, get our songs playlisted, uh, which I feel like is such an underrated thing to do. I feel like it's mostly because people don't know how to find the contact for getting like talking to someone and being like, hey, could you put our song on a playlist?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
that alone, you gather up like five playlists, you're getting like a minimum of like 10,000 streams on your song, and people are finding your
yeah.
songs. Yeah.
And this YouTube channel is an independent artist YouTube channel, so I'm always welcoming like tips for how to promote yourself because there's loads of artists on here who just want people to hear their music. So, um, what would you suggest is a great way to get on like these playlists, for example?
It's kind of like grunt work, but you gotta just go through the playlist, find the playlist, and figure out if they have an easily accessible contact information.
Yeah, yeah,
And you write out like a nice email template, copy and paste to just whoever you find and send it out. And then they get back to you 9 times out of 10. They're like, yeah, we could do something together. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, just reach out to as many platforms and people as possible.
Wow.
Uh,
It's probably a bit boring, and you've got to be prepared to hear some no's as well. Um,
yeah, it is a lot of just sitting on your phone, typing, sending email,
yeah,
link to the music. It's a lot of that, but
yeah,
it pays off when you come back and check the numbers of your song a week later, and it's doing really well. You
yeah.
know,
And you'll actually garner some fans from that. It does work. It does pay off. You do get people who eventually end up following you on Instagram or whatever and being fans. So it does work.
exactly.
Brilliant. So you've 2nd of August was when this was released, so
Yeah.
12 days ago. Despite Everything by Never Again. Also love the band name. It looks very screamo. There's no space between Never and Again. Yeah, awesome. Um,
I'm a huge, I'm sorry, I am such a big stickler on that because so many times when we're booking like shows, the promoter will just keep it 2 words.
yeah.
And if I see, I'm saying it on record right now, if I see our name as 2 words on anything one more time, I'm gonna scream. I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah. My brother's got a pop punk band, and they're called Times Too Fast, but
Mhm.
it's an X and then a two, then a space, and then fast, but a small F, not a big F. And he kicks off about it every time as well, especially when he's introduced and it's said the wrong way. Yeah, it can be tricky with that, but yeah. So I recommend people go and check it out. It's an awesome journey through this album. You can tell how much time and effort has been put into this. It's ridiculously good. So yeah, do go and check it out, guys. What is next for you then? What are you planning to do next after this release?
We have a few things planned out already. We I guess I'll just say it because we haven't actually officially said it yet, but we have acoustic versions coming out around we're planning for that for like September.
Nice.
Three acoustic versions of songs from the album, and just two new acoustic songs that we worked on. Um, and then after that, we have songs written already. We're gonna get ready to roll out as singles while we work on album two.
Amazing. Amazing. How do you feel about doing albums these days? Because like a lot of people say it's not really the way forward. You drip feed a lot of singles, eventually
Yeah.
leading up to an album. If you think about Falling in Reverse, Ronnie Radke, as contentious as he can be, he's
Yeah.
been working on this album that's coming out, I think it's this month actually. But since maybe 2018-19, he's just been doing a single like every 6 months, and his album's coming out. We basically heard all of it. Um, how do you feel about that approach or working towards EPs over albums, or do you still enjoy doing albums?
Um, so I definitely think pumping out singles as standalone songs is a more or less the way to go for a bit. And
Hmm.
that's why we're kind of switching to that while we work on album two.
Yeah,
But I write like I was saying before, like the way we write these songs, a lot of them are just like cohesive in a sense of this is a theme. And I feel like it's like an injustice to separate a bunch of songs with the same theme into singles. So personally, that's we're gonna stick to we're gonna do another album,
yeah,
but we're gonna probably spend about the next 2 years writing it while we pump out standalone songs.
nice, nice. And those standalone songs will be different to what's going to be on the album then.
What was that you cut out?
The standalone singles, are they going to be
Mm-hmm.
on the album, or are they just going to be by themselves then?
Oh, they're just gonna be by themselves.
Fair enough, fair enough.
We have started writing for album two,
Yeah,
but we're kind of dividing up and picking and choosing. Like this one won't necessarily fit for album two, but we do love it, so we are gonna put it out.
Cool. Lovely. Well, definitely go and check out Never Again, guys. Link in the description down below, as well as a link to my reaction. Thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. Take care.
And now it feels so good to say hello, 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 hello. And now it feels so right to say I miss you, I love you. And God, it feels so good to say hello. God, it feels so good to say hello.
Bye, ladies and gentlemen.